Now we're going to reassemble the CDI trigger. Like I say, they're a little bit different. It's different parts. And this one did need to be shimmed. So I'm putting the shim back in. And I'm putting the bearing back in. There's always a little tapping is sometimes needed. Plastic mallet, gentle tapping. Do not hit the pickup. After that, it's done. Even on these, they're a little bit better secured. They're secured with screws in this one, but still not perfect. Snap ring, sharp side up, because that's what's holding it in. Make sure that the snap ring is in the groove. Which it is, it just popped apart, so we know it's in the groove. Then the spacer goes next. Then the pass plate, and make sure that it's on the upside, up out, because if you put it in upside down, this way the timing changes and the engine won't run. So you're going to make sure that you know you've got the outside up side. So definitely mark it before you take it apart. Mark it with up or out or both or whatever. Anything that tells you that that's what you got to, how you got to have it. Okay, now when we're doing this, we want to make sure we line up the little tabs with the appropriate slot. In this case, it's the narrow slot, and this one only has one slot in it, period. So the later ones have two, one for the 4-cylinder, one for the 6. Different timing, different setup. And I tap it down very, very carefully. And then I do my best to get it aligned in the groove. Still got a little bit more to go. I'm a little on the tight side. Tap it back out again a little bit. Hopefully I can get this moving again. There we go. Very careful. You don't want to bugger anything. Ruin the pass plate. You don't want to ruin anything if you can help it. The CDI one's a little bit tougher than the other ones because it does have a magnet and it's grabbing this plate pretty tight. It's one of those little okay, now it's wiggling, it's good. So we'll continue to tap it down and we'll see how close we are. Well, might be good. We got to put the second bearing in to make sure. So put the sleeve down, holds it in the right position, and we will now insert the screw and get a 3/4 socket. It's got to be a shallow one. And I'm tightening that nut down on the sleeve. Okay. Now I'm going to put this, the socket in the vise, And to tighten this up, I'm going to grab it with a piece of cardboard and my water pump pliers. As I said earlier, this is just cast on the end of a splined shaft. The steel shaft is splined, and the rotor itself is just a hard Bakelite plastic, so you don't want to over torque it or you will ruin it. Alright, the next thing to go in is the bearing, which I had here somewhere. Go. These are no longer available from Mercury, but they're still made. You can't get them online. Just look at the part number. This one has a Fafner number in it. You just give them a Fafner number, call a bearing company, and they'll find you what you need. Okay. They're always a little tight on top. I think probably because they get mushroom from being hit. I don't know what exactly the deal is, but now we can check the pass plate. We're not all the way in, but I'd say it's pretty clear. It's not hitting anything, and it's got good clearance top and bottom on that plate. Alright, so now I prefer to drive it down with a small socket. I do not want to ruin the shield, so I make sure the socket's big enough to fit and only hit the outside. And again, don't get hefty with the tapping because you've got a plastic piece down here. Let's just see what else can I do here. This one looks a little more suitable. Just be very careful of the shield on the bearing itself. You push that in and you've ruined the bearing. Okay, so the next thing to go in is the spring right here. Okay. Or maybe this one goes in first. I'm not sure. Turn it off. Yeah, we'll do it this way. That way it'll keep better. All right. All righty. Okay. But before we do that, we need to reassemble it. So I'm going to grease it up a bit. This thing had a lot of grease inside and out. Okay, so next thing we want to do is get this everything's turning nicely now, and we will, I think, put a little grease on the outside edge of this before we reassemble it. Not much. Grease it afterwards, but I am Okay, so pin right here. We made sure we had the spring on the right way. When you're reassembling this, after you get your rotor shaft and so forth in, and you've got your upper bearing in there, I haven't got the cap on obviously, so that's going to happen next. But what you want to make very sure is that you engage this spring, and then you have to work it and get it into this, get the second one into the gap right here. It's not easy. It's not too hard either, but it's a pain in the neck. And let's see if I can get it. There, got it. Okay, so now it's a keeper. It allows it this much to operate the butterflies after the timing is hit its maximum. Then it gives it the ability to move the upper part to engage, to open the carburetors wide open. So now the next thing to go on is the washer. And then we'll put our keeper in. Dirty one. Got a lot of extra pieces here. And here we go. So now we screw on the cap. This does not go on tight. That's why it's got its own keeper. So you can have it loose enough to, because everything has to swivel and move with the timing, and it's also a carburetor actuator, so it actuates the carburetor and the ignition, and then when the carburetors are wide open, it continues to advance the spark. Say that's pretty good right now. See how close we are to the... Okay. I've lined up the two little teeth with that thing, and I'm going to squeeze them together with a set of pliers. Squeeze it into the slot. Okay, so now the cap can't work its way loose. It's locked in place, but we have plenty of play in here for the sparking system to work, and we're off and running. We have now completed the reassembly of this. There's a gasket that goes on here. Some of them had a hose that came off of here. Some of them had a little screen. Later ones had used a little screen, air screen, and that's what I'll be using on this one.